So you probably know mine and Jeff's work possibly, but we're going to be discussing some aspects of both our research today. You know Jeff's work, the 2012 research he's been doing, and the Mayan calendarics, the really detailed analysis that he's been doing over the years. I've been researching the Olmec civilization of Central America, specifically the area around the Gulf Coast, going down into southern Guatemala and around Mexico City as well. And really our kind of research kind of came together about a year or two ago when we realized perhaps that the origins of the Mayan calendar aren't exactly as what most people think. It wasn't the Mayans who actually came up with it. It seems like either the Olmecs or even an earlier culture before that were responsible for it. And we're going to have a look at some evidence of that. And me and Jeff have known each other for some time. This is something that Jeff decided to put into the slideshow just for fun. It's not just my holiday snaps, it really is some thorough research.
This was taken at the Venus Transit camp in 2004, and the orbs were having a strange effect on us.
And interestingly, the Venus, in June 2012 is when the Venus comes in front of the Sun again. So there's actually a festival to celebrate that, which we're going to be involved with next year. But anyway, this is what we're going to be sort of discussing today. I'm going to give an overview of the Olmecs, because I don't know if many of you know about the Olmecs, because not many books have been written about them, but if you're looking at it from a megalithic, from an ancient mysteries perspective, there's a surprising amount of interesting things that they were up to, going back a couple of thousand BC or beyond. Then we have this enigmatic date of 3114 BC, which is the beginning of the long count calendar, the one that ends in December the 21st, 2012. Now, why did they start it in 3114 BC? And we'll have a look at some of the theories around that, and also some other cultures around the world that started their sort of cultures around that time. We're going to look at various aspects of the calendar. This is what Jeff's sort of going to be specialising in. And some interesting earth energies turned up when I was in Mexico as well, that sort of link up all around the planet and even connect up with the Michael and Mary lines. So we're going to briefly look at that because we've only got an hour to get through everything. And then there's the amazing Tortuguero monument, which Jeff's been doing some superb research on, along with John Major Jenkins and some others, which actually is the only surviving stone carving with the 2012 end of the calendar date on it. And then we're going to really question, why was that date chosen? Why was the end of the calendar around December 2012? It's pretty soon. It's like a year and a half away. And we either should be getting worried or we should be looking forward to it with great joy. But with Mexico and Guatemala, the first thing you really think of is the Maya. But there have been many other civilizations there going back way before the Maya even existed. Even the Olmecs are supposed to be around from around 2000 BC, 1800 BC perhaps, up to about 200 AD. They really kind of fully died out. And it was around maybe 100 BC, there's various interpretations of this, when the Maya kind of really came in. So there was like a crossover culture, which John Major Jenkins and others believe was around the area of Izapa, and also moving into, which is in Mexico, and also into southern Guatemala. But it's really, what I'm interested in is this area here in the centre of this picture, this Olmec heartland, which is really the Gulf Coast region, all along here and down here as well. And also up to Mexico City, there's a surprising amount of Olmec activity up there. And they're even going right down into South America, and possibly even right down into Peru and Bolivia and Colombia and other places. There's evidence that the Olmecs were there too. And the weird thing about the Olmecs, as you'll see in some of these images, is that they don't appear to look particularly kind of native to Central America. This is just the area, but these are the main Olmec sites in that particular. I visited most of these when I was there a couple of years ago. There's a lot of interesting Olmec heads. This is one, for instance, at San Lorenzo. This was only discovered about 7 or 8 years ago, I think. And you get these strange spheres as well on the left here, which are very similar to the ones that have been discovered in Costa Rica, which are all over this certain landscape in Costa Rica. But these Olmec heads, 17 of them have been discovered, but they were master stonemasons. They were like sophisticated culture going back a couple of thousand BC, and they really did have a high understanding of various sciences. Magnetism was one of them, and this is some lodestone or an iron ore magnet that was between 1200 and 1400 BC. And also, many of the sites, specifically San Lorenzo, were built on a major magnetic anomaly, as though they deliberately chose that site so they could kind of work with the energies there. And many of the sites in Britain, Europe, and all around the world are actually built upon magnetic anomalies of one sort or another. And this is some new science which has been occurring over the last maybe 6 or 7 years, when this realization's sort of been coming forth. Also with the Olmecs, you'll find there's a lot of connections with Egypt. This is just one graphic I've got here, which compares the two cultures. And I think what's most interesting, you know, the connection with Egypt, or even with certain parts of Africa, is the sort of negroid-looking faces that these great colossal heads have, because they're certainly African-looking, sort of Nubian king-looking almost. I've got some other images we can look at there. But there's a place called San Andreas here, just near one of the major sites of La Venta, which is where we start seeing evidence of the calendar occurring in Mexico before the Maya supposedly existed. Now this is a particularly interesting little site. I didn't manage to get to this site because there's really nothing left of it. But this particular glyph is part of the 260-day Zolkin calendar, which Jeff will explain shortly. And it's 3 Ahau, and Ahau is actually one of the, it's part of the end date of December 21st, 2012. And there's just some cylinder seals that have been discovered there, which I've only just found out about. And here's just some of the other references, connections with Africa, and you can see the similarities in some of these pictures. These are from a book from a guy called Ivan van Sertimo, who's done some brilliant research connecting Africa and Central and South America. And you can see the facial features, especially on the top right there, how they're incredibly similar to a Kenyan Nubian king. And you can clearly see, and yet the academics to this day still claim that the Olmecs are actually just natives to Central America, and this certainly isn't the case. Now, there's lots of other carvings, as we'll see through the talk, which show that there were white people there with beards, and it's known that in Central America that people did not have beards naturally and did not have any facial hair. So there's a suggestion that it may have been a cosmopolitan kind of transoceanic culture which they were part of. This is a place called Santiago Tuxtla. This is near the famous site Tres Zapotes. And what's been noted here, you can see the mounds in the background in the picture that's in the museum. And there's a great head also, another great colossal head just in the main park area, just outside the museum. But on the back of the head, there's these 7 braids. I don't know if you can see it clearly there. And this is a tradition from Kenya. And this is something that Ivan van Sertimo, he kind of came up with and realised. He kept finding all these similarities with Africa and Central America. And whether that's connected with the calendar, we don't know yet, because we don't know if there were sort of particular calendar cultures in that part of Africa. Here's some other heads and stones from Tres Zapotes. Some acoustic properties that many of these stones had as well. When you go in there and you start tapping them, you realise they had quite a knowledge of acoustics. So we can see clearly, you know, that we're starting to see a picture that they were quite sophisticated, and these were the people who really taught the Maya what they knew. And also at Tres Zapotes, there's the long count calendar date that's been found there. This goes to either 31 or 32 BC, and this is the oldest known long count calendar date. Now, the long count's the one that starts in 3114 BC and ends in December 2012. And this goes back to, well, they think 32 BC or 31, it depends which way you look at it. But it's clearly the first carving there. I mean, before the 1950s, the earliest date was in, like, I think AD 200, something like that. And as soon as this was discovered by Matthew Stirling in the 1950s, they realised very quickly that they were looking at a pre-Mayan culture that actually possibly invented this so-called calendar, the 2012 calendar. And here's just some other graphics of it and sort of interpretation, analysis of what was found.
They found the bottom piece first, and the top piece they only found later, but it was actually Matthew Stirling's wife who came up with the what turned out later to be the best date for it. Because, where's your pointer? You see here, this is the Zolkin date, and part of it's missing, so they can see it's either probably either a bar is 5 and a dot is 1, so it's either a 6